Welcome to another Travel Talk with Selling Travel. Today I'm joined by Claire Golding, AlUla UK Director, who will be telling us more about this hidden gem in Saudi Arabia and why it's a must for adventurous clients. Hi Claire, how are you today?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you going?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. So pretty exciting because you've very recently been to AlUla. So tell us, how does it compare to your last visit and what's changed? Any new developments? Give us an update.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I was actually in AlUla in March. The previous time I visited was last October, and yes, we're absolutely seeing lots of change. I was lucky enough to be traveling with a number of UK and Northern Europe tour operators, so it was great to get their opinion, looking at the destination for the first time. As you know, and I think from previous conversations, AlUla has a master plan, which is called Journey Through Time. And I think the most exciting thing is to see this vision and the sensitive developments really starting to happen. So some of the key changes for me would be there's a new area called Al Jadida, and that loosely translates to New Town. So when you visit the heritage site of AlUla Old Town, it's Market Street and it's Market, you've got this wonderful new area where the locals live that has all beautifully been refurbished. There's about 10 new restaurants there, and it's really a hub of activity for culture as well. There's a lot of art galleries, so there's a really exciting now area which is a hub. That's probably the biggest development that's physically seen, and then there is already ground that's been broken for some of the new accommodation that will be coming online next year.
Okay, so what do those accommodations, what do they include then? There's some big names.
Yeah, well, there are some big names, brand names coming in. We've got Amman Resorts coming in. They will really not be ready and available till the end of 23 and 24. But we're hoping for next season to have two small, unique boutique heritage hotels that are opening. They'll have less than 35 rooms each, one at Hegra at the main entrance, right next to the Hijaz railway station, and the other actually physically in AlUla Old Town, and all built within the traditional style. So we're hoping those two new boutique products will be open for early 23.
Oh, brilliant, exciting stuff going on.
Yeah.
And how did it compare to visitor-wise? Did you notice there are a few more visitors than when there were in October, because the word's starting to spread, but it's still quite a boutique destination, isn't it? So tell me, how did it feel?
Well, to be honest, it was surprising how many international people were there, visitors were there. We actually met quite a few Brits that were traveling, a lot of Americans, a lot of females traveling on their own, which I thought was really interesting in small groups. So it's definitely starting to buzz. And of course, being there in March, that's part of the period that we run a series of events and festivals called AlUla Moments. So we had Desert X, which was in one of the canyons, which was absolutely incredible. So there was a lot of activity, yeah, and a lot of visitors, which was great to see.
Oh, amazing. And for the first time visitors, how do they describe AlUla? What's some of the words that they say when seeing AlUla for the first time?
I think there's quite a mixture, to be honest. I think a lot find it when they actually see the destination, they actually would use the words awe-inspiring. It's quite phenomenal to see the size and the beauty and the monumentality, is another good word, of the landscape. So I think surprising. I think the fact that it's a rarity, and I think probably the thing that's the strongest is the genuine authenticity. You get a really different feeling there. The locals are incredibly friendly, open and welcoming. So it's an exciting place to be. I think it's surprising.
Yes, I have heard that the hospitality is just second to none, and they want to invite you into their homes and have a meal with you, and it's really authentic experience. Getting to know the locals and the culture that way is pretty incredible.
Literally, we would walk down some of the little streets, and there'd be ladies having coffee, whatever, and they will all smile, and in some instances welcome you to come and have a coffee with them. They really want to engage. I think perhaps that's what people don't understand about Saudi as this new, evolving, young destination. It really wants to play a part on the world stage. and is incredibly hospitable.
Yes, I did actually read a statistic which surprised me, is that how it's a very young population, isn't it?
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly the figures, but
about 65% of the population is under 35.
which is, yeah, incredible.
It is, and this young generation as well is incredibly well educated, and many educated overseas. So, you know, they know what's out there on the global stage, and now they want to open up their own country and share that culture and that history.
Okay, so let's have a go at your top recommendations for a first-time visitor. You must have so many, but pick maybe your top 4 that you must see for the first time.
I might stretch that top 4 because there are 4 key heritage sites that are absolute must-sees. I mean, obviously Hegra, which is the southernmost city of the Nabateans, so the sister city to Petra, is an absolute must-see. And even just in terms of changes, when I was there, one of our guides was saying, you know, there's over 130 tombs to experience. Well, when I was there last year, I was told there were only 110 tombs. So I think the point is there is so much that's still being excavated and new, that each time you go, there is a new treasure to see. But of those 4 heritage sites, you've got absolutely Hegra, the AlUla Old Town, Dedan and Jabal Ikma. Those 4 experiences are must-sees. And then I would probably add into that something like the stargazing. There's an amazing stargazing evening which you can do, which is from the sort of main hotels, about an hour and a half's drive north. It's just stunning. The skies are completely black, so the stargazing is incredible. But also what's really growing, and they are small escorted groups, but just getting out into nature and the walking and the hiking, there are some incredible trails, and you literally are walking where footsteps have not been for hundreds of years. So incredible experiences.
And there are also some, you just mentioning the nature, it's surprising the green areas that are, you know, in this desert landscape, but you really can go on hikes, see, you know, little pockets of nature oasis there, and see, yeah, the nature that exists around this area.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's, I think, the fascinating thing. One expects this sort of dusty desert, but of course, you know, AlUla over the centuries, over millennia, has grown because it has this oasis. It was always a safe place for travelers. There was water, there was food, and the core oasis is about 14 kilometers long. So it's a beautiful experience. The colors are amazing because you've got this green oasis. You sort of have this cap of I suppose over 2 million, I think, palm trees. But underneath that, you'd have citrus fruits. You'd have all the local fresh herbs growing underneath. So you've got this incredible green that's then against this blue sky, and then against the incredible sandstone rocks and mountains and canyons. So yeah, the oasis is special.
And you touched on the fact that March is a busy month because of the festivals. Is AlUla a seasonal destination? And if it is, what's the best time of year to go?
It's definitely seasonal in the sense that the weather lends itself to seasons. So there is a distinct low, shoulder and peak season. It is open year round though, so the heritage sites, etc., are 12 months of the year. But of course, if you do go in the summer or the low season, it is very hot. You know, you're talking about high 30s and 40s. It's a dry heat rather than a humid heat. So if you went during the summer, the pricing would be cheaper, and you would probably be able to do more activities in the evenings, sort of in early mornings. But if you go in that shoulder peak, so October, March, you get quite cold evenings. I was actually surprised just how cold the desert is at night. But that also lends itself to warmth during the day of temperatures in sort of the low 20s, which is lovely, particularly for walking and hiking and outdoor adventures. So yeah, you're probably your best time to travel, depending what you want to do, is really, I would say, between October and March. And that's when also a lot more festivals and activities will be happening.
Okay, great. And some of those festivals, tell us what they include.
They vary. There's a series of festivals this year, a whole series called AlUla Moments, which was 4 different sort of festival elements, from wellness, from the skies, from arts and culture. And actually what we're evolving is to build that into year-round events and festivals from next year onwards. It's been very well received. But the kind of activities would be things like some of the incredible A-listers that were performing at Moriah, which is this beautiful concert hall in the desert. It's a mirrored building. It simply reflects the nature around it. And we this year just had Seal performing, Alicia Keys recording. We also have had Bocelli. So incredible concerts. But then, as I mentioned earlier, interesting art series and cultural programs like Desert X, which was absolutely stunning. So a real mixture.
Okay, and I'm sure that there's a lot that has already surprised agents, but what would you say is the most common misconception of AlUla, and what really is a great surprise when visitors go and see it for themselves?
Quite simply that it's AlUla's, or not AlUla's, it's Saudi's, I think, best kept secret. I think the fact that you'll still be one of the first to visit an area that's opening up. I think what you find when you get there is the depth and the richness of the cultural history. I think that is surprising. I think most of our agents absolutely would know about, the world-class experiences you would have at Petra, but they would have no idea that Hegra also exists. And it is incredibly surprising. As I say, the footfall there is small, so you're not in crowds. So I think the experience will surprise. And I also think the most surprising thing for both actually customers and our agents at the moment is that spirit of generosity that we've just talked about, and genuine warmth of the local people in welcoming international visitors. There really is a genuine want to host and a genuine want to talk and engage. So I think the authenticity when you get there is surprising. And I think for me with AlUla in particular is this evolving cultural experience that is there, the arts, the modern day cultural experience that sits beautifully alongside this deep, rich history. So an amazing amount of experiences that absolutely will surprise.
Brilliant. And some agents may ask, you mentioned that there were a few solo travellers, women travellers as well. So what kind of traveller does AlUla appeal to? Who should they target?
It's definitely going to be for the affluent traveller, that's for sure. We're interestingly seeing a lot of all ages, not just an older market. We're certainly seeing a younger millennial market. I think because it's a destination that is quite unique and not been seen by many, there's certainly got its bragging rights to go. So I think our younger travellers are also quite keen to visit. It is, I think you mentioned as well, yes it is, it's a boutique destination, so we're never going to be looking for volume. So it's challenging to get accommodation sometimes, but that of course adds to its, I think, excitement of being one of those travellers. And it is, I think, for people who want the road less travelled, they want a depth of experience, they want that history and they want that culture, but they also want that alongside lovely quality accommodation, good food. The restaurants are quite incredible, which again I found quite surprising when I very first visited, and they just want that peace and serenity that you get in a desert.
Just out of interest, what is the cuisine there?
So it's a traditional, I would say a traditional Middle East type cuisine. We're lucky because AlUla, because of the Oasis, is a food bowl. So you've got a lot of fresh food, a lot of fresh meat, certainly a lot of fresh vegetables and herbs and spices. But we also have a lot of international cuisine, or a modern international take on the local produce. So quite a mixture. We've got incredible chefs now. We've got the wonderful Jason Atherton from Social in London. He's opened his restaurant on the top of Moriah, our concert building. We have Annabelle's of London, which does a pop-up for 5 months every season, every peak season. So you can imagine the quality of food is very high.
Brilliant. So I guess you've got a real range from, that kind of 5-star fine dining, and then little sort of independent
Yeah,
local eateries as well.
we absolutely do. In all the traditional way, and sit out quietly having your shisha and just
Mhm.
watching the world go by. Absolutely.
Great. And just finally, is there any key information that agents need to know before they book AlUla? Any testing requirements or visa that a traveller would need before they went?
They need the visa, certainly. It's very simple now. The restrictions have lifted tremendously. So the main thing is getting your e-visa, which is obviously online. You can get that literally within minutes. It's a really good service. I think the main thing is there's lots to know about the destination. My tip I would say to our distribution system is to absolutely register on alulaspecialist.com. It is a training program, but it's also a hub, particularly for agents. So it's got our webinars on there, it's got video content, it's got tips, it's got latest news. So that will really help, I suppose, inspire customers, but also help our industry look at how best to convert and what experiences to offer. So that would probably be my recommendation. And obviously working with our wider industry, our tour operators. The number of operators now featuring AlUla is growing quite staggeringly. You'll see more coming online over the next few months for the next season. So I think working with a good operator and definitely a good DMC is probably the most critical.
Okay, great. And as you said, agents can find more information on the AlUla Specialist training program and also on the website, and they can also contact you, can't they?
Absolutely.
So yeah, if anyone wants any more information, then we can provide them with your contact details.
We can.
Thank you so much, Claire. It was enlightening, and I'm glad you had a brilliant trip and really enjoyed everything that AlUla has to offer. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how things progress with the destination in the future. Lots of exciting developments.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for everybody who's listening.